Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, kindly subscribe. Today, I'll show you how you can set up a selling price for your handmade business using your cost and marking it up. So we are going to use a markup, cost plus markup to determine our selling price. So for example, if your business is about soap making or knitting, artwork, home cooked food, then you deliver the food, blending juice, blending fruits for juice, making wigs, pottery, and so on and so forth, you may need to determine the final price that you will sell to the consumer of your product while factoring in the costs that you incurred in producing the good or the product. So for example, you are into soap making and your ingredients are lemon, essential oils, colorants, honey, water, could be lavender, perfumers, and all those things. So determine the cost per direct material. So these are actually direct materials. That's why I've written here, list them according to their total cost. So you can do this template as a batch or per unit. You can determine the cost per unit or the cost of producing a batch. Probably a batch of soap is 100 soaps or 1,000, depending on your production scale and the demand for your products. So we'll start with direct materials, list the amount here, then direct labors, and determine the rate that you would charge per hour making the soaps, one soap or batches of soaps. So I said 15 times probably 6 hours that I used to make the soap, which is 90. Then overheads such as overheads are indirect costs that don't necessarily interfere, or they don't necessarily contribute to the overall cost of producing the product, but they were utilized in making sure that the production process is efficient and well executed. So something like overheads such as supervision of the work done, rent of the plant where you're producing your soaps or doing your artwork, maintenance of that place, maintenance of those machines, property taxes, indirect labor such as janitors or any painters who came in to just lift the place up. Those things are overheads. Set the cost for that. You can use an approximate and set the cost for that. You can use this as per batch or per unit. So it's up to you to determine how much goes into one unit. And there's a formula for that, but because I want to simplify this method, I won't go into so much formulas. And so the total cost to produce will be 170. But remember, this is not the cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold has another formula, but we are going to assume this is the cost that has been put into place to put this good into a final or a finished good. So for you to determine the price using the markup, I will set a rule of the thumb at 2 times of your cost, which is 200% of this. So you're going to add the markup to the cost. Okay, then so your markup is 2 times 170, which is 170 times 2 gives us 340. Therefore, the price per unit for wholesale is equal to 340 plus the cost. So markup plus cost gives us the selling price. For the retail, just multiply or determine a markup per unit from the wholesale. So just have a guess, like for my retail price, I'll take the wholesale price and multiply it times 1.5, probably 765. And so you can determine the profit from this end. The gross profit from the wholesale will be 510 minus the costs. Okay, so it will be is equal to the selling price minus the cost gives us 340, and for the retail price, the selling price minus the same cost gives us 595. So an investor can ask you what's the profit margin per unit or per batch, and your profit margin is a function of the selling price, which is equals to the profit, let's start with wholesale, divided by the selling price, 67%, and the same case to this one, the profit divided by the selling price gives us the profit margin in retail or in wholesale. You can go ahead and deduct the selling and administration expenses from your gross profit to just get the earnings before interest, depreciation, tax, and amortization. Then determine the taxes, the interest, the depreciation, and the amortization. When you deduct all these, you get your net profit, probably per unit or per batch produced, or even for the month. And so, just a little clarification, in the selling and administration expenses, we have things such as marketing, advertising, those expenses that have been put into place to make sure the good gets to or the product gets to the consumer. It could be courier, branding, all those things that you used in selling and administration, delivery fees, all those things. So I hope this helps and you will be able to determine the selling price for your product. If you want to make your markup maybe less, just ensure your costs incurred are less so that you can realize a bigger profit margin. Well, this may not be in the realistic world. You could have it at maybe 40 to 50%. That would be okay. 40 to 50% would be all right. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I hope this method helps you to set up a nice price for your product. And make sure you research before even setting a product. Don't multiply it times 5 times and you know your consumers or your competitors are charging way less, yet it's the same product. So this markup depends on your target market, on the product perception, on the value of what you're providing, and on even the cost of production. Yes, it's a factor, it's a multi-factor amount. So it's not a guesswork. You have to research and think around how much value it offers to the consumer. Anyway, that's it for today. Bye. See you in the next video. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.